Hi, I'm Bob Allison with ShopSabre CNC. Around here they call me Routerbob. In this video, we're going to create a styling station like you might find in a hair salon, but it's designed specifically for use in a home. This is going to be a really nice project. We wanted to explore the relationship between SketchUp and V Carve Pro. Now, SketchUp is a really popular modeling software, and for the most part, it's free or doesn't cost very much, but it has the ability to design some really complex fixtures. And the beauty is that we can take a SketchUp design and actually import it into V Carve Pro, and V Carve Pro will extract the parts and lay them out on a sheet. So that's the connection. So we're going to use that technique in this project. All right, we're looking at SketchUp, and this is what the overall project looks like. It's a styling salon station, so it's something you might see at a salon. Basically, that's a top. There would be a mirror up here. And if you look at this, it's really three cabinets. This is a separate unit, that's a unit, that's a unit. And the reason I did this is the client has to take this downstairs to the basement. So it's going to make it easier if they can carry those down and actually assemble them down there. Now let's look at each one of these cabinets. Here's the base cabinet, and you can see there's a door down here and a drawer. Let's look at that inside. Basically, here's what you see. There's your adjustable shelf holes, there's your joinery, there's holes for all that. This particular design, I'm using one-piece half-inch back, and I do that because it just makes it simpler and it's easier to attach. There's a toe kick, but it's not quite as far back, so that's the base cabinet. This piece I call a drawer unit. It actually goes under the top and next to that other piece that we looked at. Let's x-ray it, and you can see there's a couple top stretchers. The bottom is one piece, and the reason I did that is because people view it from up underneath. And then there's a drawer, and once again, same construction. The back is inserted after the fact, and then it's half-inch material. The rest of the material is 3/4 inch Baltic birch. And finally, this is the upper unit. Once again, adjustable shelves, nothing exotic, same construction, half-inch back. It slides in from the back after it's already assembled. So those are the three units, and so those are all designed with SketchUp, and now we're ready to start talking about how we get from SketchUp to actually something to machine. Now let's look at V Carve Pro. What I've done is I've opened a job, and if we look at this, the material size is 48 by 96. This is actually what they call 3/4 Baltic birch. It's probably a metric equivalent, but it measures 0.725. We're using inches. The machine bed means I'm touching the tools off to the top of the spool board. The lower left corner is the origin, so that should be good. Now, and that's no different than opening any other job, but here's the difference when you're dealing with SketchUp. If you go to this folder, and one of the things, SketchUp files show up here. So I'm going to select Salon Base Final, and you open up, and this screen comes up, and let's go through this a little bit. What it's going to do is it's going to look at that SketchUp file, and it's going to figure out all the parts. Now, we're going to have exploded as a flat layout, so we want the parts laying flat. This is the space in between them. One of the things that you learn in SketchUp is when you draw an arc, it's not really an arc. It's a bunch of small straight lines. And so that's kind of like what a machine does when it machines a spline. So we want those converted. So we want actual arcs in here. And then over here, this is where you determine what gets imported. Well, all right, let's look at this. First off, hardware, we don't want any hardware. Okay, we don't want the back because the back's a different thickness, and so are the drawer parts. So we only want to pull in things that we want. And right now, I don't want to do the doors. We're going to do that separate. So let's see what happens. We'll hit OK, and there's our parts. And now let's click this, and that gets us to the individual parts. All right. And so there we are. So that's what we have to start with. Now, there's some things we're going to have to do. There may be geometry that you don't like, that you want to get rid of, and so forth. Or for instance, right here, this dado is going to be incorrect because there's no way in the system that knows how large your tool is. So what I would do on that, it's real simple. I would go to this, and then I would just make sure this is not clicked, there's no link. And okay, so how much do I want to add? Well, I want to add the tool diameter, so I say plus 0.8 2, 5, and then equal, and it calculates it for us. And that's really all it takes to actually make those adjustments. So one of the things you're going to do here is you're going to go to each drawing and make sure everything's what you want. Once again, it's VCarve Pro, so you can change things if you want. And then the other thing to do is let's basically take that piece and then click it again. Whoops. It's all grouped together. And so what I do is I move it over here. So once I take a piece and move it off here, you got to make sure your grain direction's correct. So that's basically what I did. And I do each part that way. And then when I get finished with this, I end up with these parts ready to nest. Let's take a look at that. Now, once I bring the parts in and do all the changes to them and get the grain oriented, I just put them over here like this. So this is the base cabinet. These are actually the door and drawer fronts. And the reason I did these separately is so that the grain continues. And you can see how those are laid out. And finally, these are the parts that they're 1/2 inch. So these are Baltic birch. So these larger pieces are backs, drawer bottoms, and then these are drawer sides. So what we've done is we've taken the parts that were created with SketchUp, brought them in here, made any modifications or adjustments we needed, moved them over here, and basically that's how we got this started. So we did that for all 3 of the different setups, and then we opened a file and brought all of them in there and nested them. So let's look at that. Now, once I brought all the parts in for each of the cabinets, then I nested those. And once again, remember, this is by material. So in this case, this is 3/4 inch Baltic birch. And I also added some more stuff in here. And that's these little slots right here, those are actually for pocket screws. And VCarve Pro has a neat little pocketing set up under fluting that'll actually cut those. And that gives me the ability to make a cabinet assembly much easier. That's what those lines are. So once again, I added those in VCarve Pro. So you see, everything looks good. It's nested. Now, VCarve, I had one extra part, and it turns out that's a shelf. So I said, well, I've got some material over where I'm cutting the doors. I'll just put that on that sheet. And we'll take a look at the other 2 sheets. Now, these are the 1/2 inch material, so that's going to be the drawer parts and the drawer bottoms, and actually the cabinet backs also. And if you notice, I went ahead and set the material size at 48 by 48 so that it used a little bit better use of the sheet, so it didn't nest out in this other half of the sheet. And finally, here's the actual doors that we looked at, and then this is that extra piece that's actually a shelf that I brought in here because I knew I had plenty of material, and I just put it on there and get that cut out. Now, let's go back and let's look at simulations of each of these so that we know what's going to happen when we get to the machine. Now, let's actually run simulation to see exactly what's going to happen when we get to the machine. Preview all toolpaths. And there we go. And if we double click this scrap, it should disappear. So that's scrap. And I think I saw a piece right here. And I believe there's a scrap right there. Yep. So that's what the nest is going to look like. Now here's the second sheet. And let's look at the simulation on that. Preview all toolpaths, and there you go. We double click that, and there's all the parts. So there's a couple of backs in here, there's some drawer bottoms, and of course parts here for the drawers themselves. Now let's look at the final nest. Here's sheet 3. Let's simulate the toolpaths. We'll double click there, and there's our parts. So those are the doors, and once again, the grains are going to match because the way we laid this out, and this was an overflow part from another sheet. Now that we've ran our simulations, everything looks good. Let's go visually validate this out on our machine. Well, our salon station came out really nice. Our client wanted this built so that they could take it downstairs and install it. So here's what we did. This is a base unit that's separate. The drawer unit actually fits up against here once it's installed, and of course a unit on top. And in the salon, there'll be a mirror here. So it came out really nice. Now we've got a couple things to do. We've got to put some hardware on it and then get it installed and get it finished. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you need more information, you can contact us at ShopSabre.com. Thank you for watching.